Wow, we are once again recording. That's crazy, actually.
I know. I loved how excited the computer gets when we start recording.
The computer gets pretty excited.
It just tells me in such a thrilling manner
Yeah,
that we
yeah,
are now
yeah,
being recorded, and it
yeah.
just fills me with joy every time.
I mean, for me, I know I'm always being recorded by the FBI, so it's kind of just,
It,
you know,
yeah, we're just
but
doing their job for them. They should be
exactly,
paying
we're
us.
helping them. That is factoids. Well, hello once again,
And welcome
audience.
back.
Last week we promised that this was going to be the worst of times, and maybe it will. Who knows? We don't know at this moment in time, but we will know by the time you're listening to this, because we are
Because
from the past in your time, which is the future to us. Yeah.
that was really nice.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, Lots of things have happened. We hope you all had a good Halloween. We sure did.
Yeah, we were just discussing that.
Yeah. Good costumes, good times, and because I'm an adult, I just bought my own candy.
Yeah,
No one's gonna stop me.
that's what we did, man. I bought and basically ate an entire things of Halloween Reese's.
Let's go.
It was great.
That sounds pretty fantastic, not gonna lie. For some reason, the Walmart here, like I came to, well, I went to go pick up my copy of Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, it's the day after Halloween, so they had candy and stuff. And they were out of everything except for Reese's for some reason. I don't know if they just bought like an absurd surplus or something, but they
Mm.
had just an entire wall of shelves just filled with Reese's. No take
Ow.
fives though, unfortunately, which is my favorite candy. But we already bought a bag, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it really was a crime. And I also feel like I don't know, man. All the stores were just taking down all the Halloween stuff so fast.
Yeah, no. They're itching to put up everything Christmas, and I was not happy,
No, I
personally
wasn't
speaking.
either.
But what are you gonna do? I don't want to run a Walmart, tell you what.
Tell you what.
Tell you what. Anyways, welcome to this two-part or the second part of a
The second part.
two-part, which we actually have this time instead of last time where it was a second part to the unrecorded episode that you guys will never hear. And I don't know how that makes you feel,
I
but
mean, probably, but it makes me sad.
it makes me sad too. But at least we were there.
We were.
You missed a
Mm.
great rant about me, or a great rant from me about Andrew Garfield in Spider-Man No Way Home, in the sense that I freaking love Andrew Garfield in Spider-Man No Way Home. But y'all will never hear it.
I don't know. Maybe we'll
Y'all
have
won't.
to do a rehash of it at some point. The lost
I don't even
episodes.
know what we talk. What did we talk about?
No idea.
I'd have no wait, no, I do, because the first episode was about re-releases, and so we were talking about theater re-releases,
Oh
and then we were
yeah.
talking about physical re-releases, and I went off on how much I love physical
Oh
re-releases,
yeah.
as
That's
evidenced by
right.
my now 5 copies of La La Land.
Did you buy a new one recently?
My sis. So what happened was, this is a complete tangent. You guys can skip to the time code that I'm not going to put in if you want. My sister and I went secondhand store shopping, and we found another copy of La La Land, which has like a different bonus disc and cover from the one I own, because I own the
Ooh.
Walmart edition. I think that one was the Target one. But I'm like, I really don't need a fifth copy of La La Land. And so my sister was like, look, if you buy this one, which was Breakfast at Tiffany's for mom, then
Uh-huh.
I'll buy you that copy of La La Land. I'm like, sounds great. Because then I don't feel guilty about buying myself a fifth copy of La La Land, but I end up with a fifth copy of La La Land.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's what happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Anyways,
I
welcome. Oh, let's go ahead.
No, I'm just super excited for your ever-growing collection of La La Land.
I have a lot of La La Land stuff. Like it's nowhere near as much as of Spider-Gwen memorabilia, but it's a lot easier for me to get Spider-Gwen toys, especially now that she's in, both the Spider-Verse movies. She's in
Absolutely.
the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends TV show that they're running right now or whatever.
Right, right.
So it's a lot easier for me to get Spider-Gwen memorabilia, but I do have a number of La La Land things. My most favorite, of course, being my Steelbook copy and my Pop Funkos.
Which are super cool. I love your steelbook copy of it.
Me too. It's so gorgeous. Ugh. Anyways, welcome back to another episode of Electric Oofaloos or Rebootaloo's. It's whichever we want. We'll connect to the old timeline, a la Halloween 2018 or something.
No,
Yeah.
we, I think that's a good idea. No, and I like the idea that at some point we're going to have crossover episodes of the Electric Boogaloo's and Electric Rebootaloo's.
Ooh, very good. Yeah, no, I
That's what
talked
I'm hoping for.
I talked to our good friend Dave, and he's like, "Yeah, I definitely couldn't do it like a regular thing because I'm too busy, but I would love to just be on like an episode sometime." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah,
bless, bless,
no, and
bless, bless."
that would connect the timelines there for us.
Yeah, like X-Men Days of Future
Like
Past.
X-Men Days of Future Past.
That's the one
Absolutely.
I was looking for. There we
Mhm.
go. There we go. Which is one of my personal favorite superhero movies. Although I don't think it's on my list. Should it
No,
be?
it's
I
not.
don't know. That's something for me to discuss with myself another day. Anyways, yeah, welcome back. I am same as last time, Dominique Beltran. Uh,
And
oh, go ahead.
no. Please
Uh,
finish.
at Shadow Spider 004 on Letterboxd, and I'm a slightly different man because I now know that I'm gonna go. Hopefully, fingers crossed, get tickets to go see my favorite superstar, Taylor Swift, next year. And when I tell you I'm riding off that high, I am riding off that high. I have been all week.
Hey man, that if that's what keeps you going, like hold on to that for as long as you can.
Change it, come around real soon, make us women and men. Anyways,
No. And I'm Duran Baron, and you can follow me at uh Jetpack Cat Zero on Letterboxd.
and you all should. You should make a letterbox profile just to follow him.
And Dominique, don't forget Shadow Spider here. Just to follow us, the Electric
Just
Goofers.
follow us. Like, follow us to Walmart, follow us to class, follow us wherever you want. We don't mind.
We could use all the fanboys and girls that we can take.
Exactly. Our personal, what's the word I'm thinking of? Oh shoot. F. Our personal
What?
self-respect, self-esteems. Our
Oh
personal
yeah,
self-esteems are completely related, tied, and committed to the opinions of other people. So
absolutely. It is completely dependent on how other people think of us and view us.
yep,
Without that, we are nothing.
nothing. So please, you want to send us a dead rat in the mail, like our good friend Jared Leto? Okay, we're getting mail, and that's a little
And that's
burst of
something.
serotonin.
That's something.
Mm-hmm.
Just just like draw a little heart and stick it in with it. And it'll
Yeah.
make the world to us.
Or make it like a Build-A-Bear and just get a little felt heart and stuff it in the rat where the
Ooh,
normal heart would be.
wow. But you do keep me going because you also count as the opinions of others for me, and your love for me just really keeps me going on a day-to-day
Ugh,
basis.
same, my guy. The amount of just you
Pure
know?
human
Yeah,
emotion
yeah,
that we
yeah,
feel
yeah,
for each
yeah,
other.
yeah, yeah.
It's palpable.
It is. It's even palpable through this podcast. Freaking a podcast.
Podcast.
Even though we're like 1,000 miles apart,
Too far apart.
too far apart. One day I'll be in your warm arms again, Jojo. Don't you?
Sooner rather than later, I hope.
Oh, I hope so too.
With that, should we go ahead and get into it?
Do we want to talk about what we watched this past week or
Oh
past
yeah,
couple of days? Because I
let's do
watched
that.
a butt ton of stuff this
You
past week.
did. Please
Oh yeah,
indulge me.
I gladly. I'm more than excited. So first, as mentioned last week, I was going to, and I did. I made my roommate watch The Babadook with me, and he also thought it was very creepy and scary. Maybe possibly because I think it's very creepy and scary, and was definitely letting him know. But again, it's legit one of my favorite movies. It's weird, it's unsettling, it's freaky, it rocks so much. What doesn't rock so much is the Halloween reboot trilogy. I watched all three of them over the past week and a half, and I only really liked Halloween Kills, and that was just because it was absolutely insane. But it was fun, insane. Unlike the first reboot, just Halloween 2018, which was fine, and definitely not Halloween Ends, which was bad, which is a real shame. Because,
Yeah.
like, Jamie Lee Curtis is giving it her everything. Like, she's trying to kill it, and she does, but the rest of it's just. I even like some of the ideas about it, but it just doesn't come together. I watched the Addams Family reboot. It was bad. Just
It's
watched the
awful.
90s ones. I watched Young Frankenstein and I didn't think it was very funny, and I feel really bad
And
about that.
okay, but did you hear that Quentin Tarantino shared his like list of like 6 perfect films, and Young
That sounds
Frankenstein was on
familiar.
it?
Was it?
Yeah,
Wow.
he put it up there with. I'm trying to think. Let me pull it up real quick. But like Jaws was up there,
Jaws belongs
and
there.
yeah, several others. Hold on, I'll pull it up. You keep talking.
Okay, okay. So yeah, it wasn't that funny, I thought, which I feel like I legit feel guilty about, like, legitimately. But I don't know. There's some funny jokes. Igor was
See,
great.
I don't know.
What's
I
up?
I I just think so. I do agree that in terms of like comedy, it is not Mel Brooks' funniest necessarily, but like I also don't think that's the point. I also feel like it is just a really brilliant love letter to like those old monster movies, and it is like a Frankenstein movie in its own sense, just with some Mel Brooks comedy thrown into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what makes it really great for me. And I think it's just a good movie, like a good Frankenstein movie with some Mel Brooks comedy and a wild, absolutely phenomenal performance by Gene Wilder.
Yes,
I think
he is
Gene
very fun.
Wilder is so much fun to watch. Anyway, so I
Anyway,
don't think it's his funniest, but I also don't think that's the point of it.
that's fair, I guess. Because I did definitely go in expecting it to be like a comedy. Like I think I mentioned last week, and definitely in my review, which you guys should all go see at Savage Spider 004 on Letterboxd, that a list I read years ago put Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles at number one and two on like funniest movies ever made. So I had pretty high expectations all these years and
Yeah,
was disappointed, I guess. But then on the other hand, that list is also the reason why I ever even watched Step Brothers and Naked Gun in the first place.
sure,
Those are some of the funniest movies I've ever seen. So I don't know.
sure. Okay, so he listed these 6 movies
Okay.
as perfect films on Jimmy Kimmel recently.
Okay.
He listed number one, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Really
Yeah,
interesting. I've heard good news
Jaws.
about that one. I need to watch it.
Me too, me too.
Jaws is perfect.
I agree. The Exorcist,
Okay.
Annie Hall, Young Frankenstein,
Okay. All right.
and Back to the Future.
Yeah. Honestly, Back to the Future would maybe be my first choice for a perfect film.
I'd
Like
have to think about
legitimately.
that because I absolutely agree that Jaws and Back to the Future deserve to be up there.
I'd also put Silence of the Lambs on there, which we'll
Oh
get
yeah.
to twice today.
Woo.
Um
Anyway, so if anyone cares what he thinks, I just thought it was interesting that he listed Young Frankenstein up there, especially since it's so different than the rest.
right.
But anyway,
Maybe
I thought
just
that was interesting.
yeah, that is kind of interesting, but I'm cool with that. That's cool. That's cool. I watched Paranorman finally. It was very
I
pretty.
love that movie.
It was very, very, very pretty. And pretty good. It was pretty good. I liked it. I think I'd definitely still go with like Coraline first,
Sure, sure.
but I quite enjoyed it. And I watched the original Friday the 13th and it was boring.
It's so boring.
I like the final 15 with the twist was pretty good, but outside of that, I was bored out of like I
Oh,
legit because there's like 10-15 minutes where they're just either playing Monopoly or making out. I'm like, this is dumb. Like, why am I watching this? And I just fast forward through most of
did you
it.
watch the movies that made us episode about it?
I've not. Mm-mm.
You need to check that out because I feel like that explains a lot. Because they talk about at one point that they went into it uh kind of just riding the high of like, wow, slasher movies can be big because Halloween was really big.
Yep.
And so they're like, we can do that. And so they went out and started filming with like barely any script at all and just
Dang.
kind of making things up as they go. Like, let's have you guys playing Monopoly until something bad happens.
Huh.
And that's how they made it. So anyway,
Well,
it's very much worth watching that Movies That Made Us episode on Netflix because it explains a lot about that film. And in some ways, it gives me more of an appreciation for it, but it does not take away from the fact that I did not like that movie because I thought it was boring.
yep.
So I'm with you on that. 2.5 stars.
Yep. And then I finally got around to watching Where the Crawdads Sing, which I was only interested in because Taylor Swift's Carolina plays in the end credits, and Carolina is probably one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs. And yeah, the best part was the credits where Taylor Swift's Carolina plays. So
Thanks.
yeah, it was the ending was fine. It was kind of interesting, but the most of it's just like CW melodrama stuff, and I was like,
Miserable.
this isn't for me. I'm a grown adult. I'm not a high schooler anymore. Maybe grown adult's not quite the right word either though, but whatever.
Mm,
And for MMM, we watched a Disney Channel original movie called Can of Worms, and it was horrifying and really weird, but the puppet work was very impressive. I don't know who did it, but it's very impressive puppet work for sure. The movie itself sucks. Yeah. Um, I made my roommate also watch Us with me, which he did not vibe with as much. He's a little too caught up on the different plot holes, which is valid. Like I think I mentioned last week, there are a number of kind of like weird plot holes that like don't make sense if you
sure.
think too much about it, especially in the ending resolution. But your boy does not care. The whole like metaphor and themes and layers of like detail and stuff in that movie off the charts. I love Us. It is such a good movie. So I had a great time again because it rocks. And then I watched They Live after both you
Which
and
I
your good
love.
friend, yeah, going off on it. And I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was weirdly, I mean, obviously, Free Guy is like They Live, but it was weird watching, like, this is just like Free
Sure.
Guy.
Sure.
What
No,
is
I
going on?
appreciate that. I really appreciated that in your review right there.
And then I watched Midsummer, which has been one that's been on my list since at least last year. When I actually started watching horror movies, when I like went out looking for like what's a good horror movie, and it was insane. It was so weird, but it was really good. It was really intense and brutal and
Sure.
heavy, and I'm never gonna watch it again. But it was pretty good. It's worth the hype, I feel like. It was pretty good.
Nice.
And then over the past couple of years, I've worked on exercising all my childhood demons. And
Ooh,
so over Halloween's past, I've watched such films as Coraline and Where the Wild Things Are, which were both
nice.
movies that just like horrified and scared the crap out of me as kids. And now I've come to realize Coraline rocks. Where the Wild Things Are is a very beautiful film, and it's really heavy too. But the last one I had to go was Lilo and Stitch 2. Stitch has a glitch. And I don't know why I was ever scared of it. Like watching it, I'm like, this is not. Why was I so freaked out by Stitch with green eyes? I don't know. But I was. But no longer. I've seen it and I'm not
You
scared
have
of it anymore.
exercised your
Yep,
demons.
exactly.
Proud of you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I briefly caught a little bit of Hotel Transylvania just in passing when I was at the mall, but I wanted to put down a review just so I could note that I used to really like the like trashy 2010s pop music that they use in the
Right.
film. I felt like that was important. No. Man, I saw so many movies since we
You
last
watched a
recorded.
lot of
I've
movies,
seen
my
a lot of
friend.
stuff. And then me and Eileen saw Dawn of the Dead in 3D. They didn't really use the 3D that much. Like it was mostly just like your basic, oh hey, there's depth somewhat to this film. But that said, the movie rocked. And so that more than made up for it. It was really, really good, both really freaky and really funny. I enjoyed it.
I'm excited to watch that.
You should. I highly recommend it. It was worth the watch for sure. And then me and my roommate has wanted to watch Psycho since like we first started rooming together. And so we finally got around to it. And we're both like, yeah, that's kind of mid, to be honest. It was
Which
good,
is a
but
hot take.
I know. But it's no Vertigo, man.
No,
It's no Vertigo. But it was good. The twist is really fun. Last 15 minutes are really good, but and the first 45 are really good too. But
right.
we're both like, that was kind of just all right, to be honest. And I still gave it 3.5 stars, so it's not like I thought it was just really mid, but just slightly better than mid, I guess. And then I finally finished Burton Week on the last day on Halloween and watched Batman 89, which is one of my all-time favorites, which we'll get to today.
Well, in
Uh,
theory.
and well, that's a good point. I adore Batman 89 so much. I watched Wendell and Wild, which is Henry Selick, the director of Coraline and Nightmare Before Christmas, his new movie with Jordan Peele and Keegan Michael Key. And it was enjoyable. I liked it. It's really pretty. It's got a nice style. Watched Top Gun Maverick because it came out on Blu-ray finally. So I've now seen it 11 times and it
Woo.
still has not gotten old. It does lose a little bit of its I think enjoyment value watching it on like a smaller screen with a
Sure.
tinny sound system instead of on a big screen with a theater sound system, but it's still so much fun. And finally, we rewatched Silence of the Lambs, which is easily one of my contenders for like a perfect film.
A perfect one,
It is
absolutely.
so good. So yeah, that's all the large amount of movies I watched since we last talked.
Wow. That is a lot. That's impressive, dude. That is a lot. I have not watched as many movies as I would have liked. But I did watch just some of my favorites. So pretty much since we last talked, I rewatched Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness
Which I mean, for the spooky season,
for the spooky season, and I absolutely I I love both of those movies so much, and I just adore Army of Darkness. And I talked about this briefly in the review, and part of me, I really wish we could have seen Sam Raimi's full vision of when he wanted this movie to be without Universal's intervention.
Yeah,
And it is a crime that that movie is not called Medieval Dead.
it really is. Like it really
It is
truly
a
is.
crime. But on the other hand, this movie is everything I want it to be. This movie is perfect for me. And so while I would have loved to see Sam Raimi's vision, I absolutely adore Army of Darkness. And then I watched Big Trouble in Little China on Halloween because
Nice.
that's what I went as. I went as Jack Burton. And man, that movie just rocks. I I love it so much. Definitely my favorite John Carpenter, but it's so weird. And then I also watched Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders on VHS because I found
Oh,
it for
very
like $2.
nice. Nice.
And that's one that I hadn't watched since I was really young. But I remember really liking it. And I think if anything, I like it more now just because I just love like X-Files and UFOs and aliens and stuff. And so it's not as good as Zombie Island, but it's up there. I really, really enjoyed it. So
Very good.
that's about all I watched. I've been meaning to watch more, but uh, yeah, we'll get
What
around to it.
what version of Army of Darkness did you watch?
Just the
The
theatrical
original
release.
theatrical.
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to get around to watching some of the other ones. But I was also showing my sister, and
Ah, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
I wanted to show her just the original version,
Right.
specifically with the ending,
Yes.
the Esmar ending, which is one of my favorite parts of the entire movie.
Agreed.
And so for now, just theatrical, but I want to get around to watching all four versions. I'm really excited by the international version because that seems to combine a lot.
The
That one
two. Yeah.
seems to combine the two very well. So I'm excited for that.
Very good. I'll be intrigued to hear your thoughts.
All right, let's get into our top 25 movies of all time
Let's do this. I hope you guys are ready for what will either be the best or worst times
or
that ever
worst of
happened.
times.
Now, you guys may remember last week that Darren noted that my 25th favorite film was Monsters vs. Aliens, which is, yes, kind of funny. I just want to take this moment to know that yours is Encino Man.
No, you're right. No, well, the thing is, I was praising it. I was excited because this starts off with a bang, and I didn't take note of that. But no, for both of us, top 25 films for both of us starts with Monsters vs. Aliens and Encino Man. If that's not a good indication of our top 25
Yeah,
list, then
no,
I don't
yeah.
know what is.
Oh, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. All right, let's do this. Real quick, Stevie once again sends his regards. He's not stopped calling me. He wanted to do a couple's costume with me for Halloween.
Oh,
I'm
really?
like, bro, what would we even do? He's like, maybe something from Jaws. I'm like, no. I love that film, but no. He's like, oh, what about uh, ooh, maybe War of the Worlds? Maybe
Ooh,
Minority Report? I'm like, you're just listing films you've directed, dude. It's like those are the only films I watch. I'm like, I gotta go now. All right, I'm gonna
I
go.
guess he has pretty good taste
He
then.
does. He does have pretty good taste, to be fair. So yeah, there's that. Who should go first? Should you go first? Should I go first?
I'll go ahead and get it started.
All right, let's go.
So yeah, as stated, at 25, I have Encino Man. I love Encino Man. It's one of the few movies, and this is a little weird, I feel like, but it's one of the few movies, and I've talked about this with my wife,
That's
that
giving you a sexual awakening.
yes, Brendan. No, no, no. But it's one that I could watch multiple times in a day and probably not get tired of it.
Wow.
It is so mindless that I genuinely feel like I can rewatch it 3 times in a day and it would not make a difference to me because it is so dumb.
I would,
It requires no brain power to watch, and I
yeah,
can do
no.
that.
I would be thoroughly intrigued to see how you felt after doing that.
And I plan on it.
You should. I would be absolutely enthralled to know.
No, I plan on it.
You should. Fun fact about this movie, I was looking through my reviews the other day. I went all the way back to the beginning. Encino Man is the first movie I ever like reviewed and logged on Letterboxd.
Wow.
Yep. I had done a couple, like I'd reviewed a couple
Wow.
just to like get my account kind of going for my favorites and stuff.
Sure.
But that was the first new movie I watched and logged.
What a landmark.
Yep, that for sure.
So I love this movie. It's not the best or anything, but I love it. And it has Sean Astin, and Ke Kwan actually makes a brief appearance in it. It's the first time since, and the only time since Goonies, that you've got two or more of the Goonies in the same movie. It's the only one
Really?
since Goonies. It
Huh.
has Sean Astin and a brief appearance from Ke Kwan, and it is the only movie to have multiple Goonies in it since the original.
Hmm.
So,
That's
a little
pretty
fun fact there.
interesting. That's cool.
24, we got Predator. I love the original Predator. It's so cool. And I like that it's just Alien, but with a lot more testosterone.
A lot more testosterone.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then 23 is very interesting because this one, we actually both have the same movie and the same placing here.
It's so
Tron
stinking good.
Legacy.
It's such a good movie.
Look, I love how Tron Legacy has been making a comeback because it's gone through some ups and downs on,
Yep.
mixed reviews upon release,
Yep.
that it went downward for a while, but recently people have really started to appreciate it for what it is. And I adore this movie.
Me too.
And not just because of the soundtrack, but the soundtrack is one of the best film scores to ever hit the big
Easily.
screen.
Mm-hmm.
So Tron Legacy 23. Blues Brothers at 22. I really like Dan Aykroyd, and I really like Dan Aykroyd. I do like John Belushi a lot too,
Very good.
but I love Blues Brothers. It's a lot of fun. And then uh The Mummy, not Tom Cruise's The Mummy, the 99 Brendan Fraser The Mummy.
Not the 1931 The Mummy?
Uh I haven't actually seen it. I
Me
want to.
neither.
And this one I would put very close. I'd be very close to putting it in one of my top like perfect movies. Not necessarily because it is like perfect, but it is one of the most genuinely entertaining movies that just seems to have it all. It's got
Mm-hmm.
great performances, a great story, great villain, all around. It's got action, adventure, romance. It has everything I'd ever want from a movie packed into one. And that totally covers up any flaws that it may have.
Yeah, no, for real. The Mummy rocks 100%.
So, all
I
right, on to you.
Yeah.
Or were
Okay.
you going to comment on
I
something?
just gonna say I still haven't seen Returns or Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
Returns is good, mostly because it feels like a really good continuation of this movie,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't suffer from one of my least favorite sequel tropes, as in, like, the first movie has so much time and it builds this wonderful romance that pays off at the end, and then the second movie like kind of deconstruction and they're like struggling on the brink of divorce, and then they have to regain their romantic interest. That is not the case at all. The
Very
romance is
good.
just as strong in the second one, if not stronger, and I really really appreciate that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, did you mean National Treasure Book of Secrets?
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, is my favorite National Treasure, but it does do that trope. And
Well,
now
I
that you
haven't watched
mentioned, oh yeah, I highly
I haven't
recommend it.
watched no, I haven't watched it since it came out. I saw it in
Oh
theaters
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I have not watched it since. And I've been really
Should.
meaning to because I've watched National Treasure a couple times.
I really like Book of Secrets. I think, from what I understand from talking to people, that's kind of more of um the unpopular opinion,
Interesting.
but I don't know. I just really like Book of Secrets. But yeah, no. Now that you mention it, a lot of movies do that, and I hadn't noticed until now. Huh. Well, as aforementioned, both today and yesterday, last time, my number 25 is Monsters vs. Aliens, which, as I alluded to, 6 years ago, and for like a solid until I came home, basically, was my third favorite film of all time. Like, I've loved Monsters vs. Aliens for a long time. Part of it, I think, is a little bit of a nostalgia thing, but not in the sense you think. As a
Sure.
kid, I used to be like super scared of both monsters and Aliens. And so when my dad took my sisters to go see this, he was like, "Do you want to come?" And I legit was like, "No, I have homework to do or something," and like made up an excuse because I was too scared to go see it. But then a couple months later, when it came out on DVD, we my dad bought it for Christmas and we watched it. I'm like, um, this movie actually kind of rocks. Full stop. Like this movie's kind of amazing? Question mark. And so I've loved it ever since. It's hilarious. It's dumb. If I was to pick a film that I could just watch over and over in one day, there's a number, but Monster vs. Aliens is definitely one of those
Sure,
films.
sure.
I could 100% just watch it a couple times in one day and just not even care. 24 is Top Gun Maverick, which the more I think about it, the more I think it should probably be higher, but I'm not sure if we're quite there yet. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see
But
if
it's
it,
on the way.
but it's climbing for sure. But the problem is I feel like that would have to restructure my entire list because I don't feel like I like it more than number 23 being Tron Legacy, which funnily enough are both Kaczynski films,
Yes.
which is kind of cool. So there's
Wow.
that. Yeah. So I'd have to like move a number of things around if I wanted to do that. But my love for Top Gun Maverick is pretty well documented on this podcast.
And your
So
Letterboxd.
and my Letterboxd. Oh boy. But yeah, 23's Tron Legacy. This is another movie that I've loved just ever since I first saw it. I did get to go see this one in theaters, and my mind was just absolutely blown watching this film. Like, holy cow. Like, as a visual movie, like holy crap, the world of Tron is just so freaking cool. I've been a fan ever since then. Tron Uprising is one of my favorite TV shows ever. I really wish they'd just freaking give us a season 2, which is never gonna
Honestly.
happen, but I can hope, I can pray. But yeah, Tron Legacy used to be my number 2 favorite movie of all time, which obviously
It
is
used to be
also,
my favorite. It
bro,
used to be my
it's
number one.
so good.
For like probably a year or two after it first came out, it
uh
was my first favorite movie of all time.
It's so stinking good. Oh my gosh. Now we have Megamind, which is another one I saw in theaters as a child. And I would just like to take this time to note that I was on the right side of history, as everyone was going to go see Despicable Me and incite the Minions craze, an absolute freaking uh swarm of just minion anything everywhere. I was out here defending Megamind as the better film, and history has proven me right.
It has. It truly has.
But like for real, Megamind rocks. It is so funny. It's got a fantastic story with really fun characters. It's just so like clever, but not in like a full of itself kind of a way, you
No, no,
know?
no.
It rocks. I wish it came out a couple of years later when superheroes were a lot bigger. I feel like it would have done a lot better. Because in 2010, we'd only just started getting to the superhero phase. We only had like three
Right.
MCU movies at the time.
But also,
So
I'd like to throw this out that it was just ahead of the curve, man.
that's
Like,
true.
superheroes weren't starting to get stale at all. And
That's a
yeah,
good
it,
point.
once again, it's kind of made a comeback. And I think that ultimately is going to be better for it in the long run.
Like Mystery Men.
Like Mystery Men. Mystery Men is wonderful. I do like Mystery Men a lot.
And then at 21, we have another one of the films that is on both of our lists, which we'll get to for your next row.
Yeah,
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which it's just so much fun. Like, it's just so much fun. Like, it's hard not to just be grinning the entire time you're watching Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, you know? Like,
absolutely.
ah, it's just a ton of fun. It's really funny and like sure both Bill and Ted are like dumb, but they're like that they're himbos, you know?
They're
They're that
himbos. They're
sweet kind of
lovable
dumb.
himbos.
Exactly. So good.
But yeah, it's not like there's anything groundbreaking or super deep about Bill and Ted, but every time I watch it, I just genuinely enjoy it more.
Mm-hmm.
But for number 20 on my list, I've got Alien. I just love the first two Alien movies, and
Hmm.
we'll get to Aliens later, but first one, all-time classic. Absolutely adore Sigourney Weaver. Then Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Which is a great film that I was kind of surprised at how far down it is. I'll be real with you, Chief.
Yeah, it's it might be up with your Top Gun situation where if I move it, it's
Mm,
going to take some rearranging,
that's fair.
and I
That's
don't know if I
fair.
want to deal with that.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair.
Because if we're just talking about quality of films, this one is going to be in top five for me. I think this is one of the, I think it's the best superhero movie that's been
Hmm.
made to date. I think it's the best comic book movie
Hmm.
and one of the best animated movies. I don't know if I'd say the best animated movie, but it's hard to think of anything that competes with it.
Yeah.
So I adore it, and I agree. I don't know why it's in 19, but I feel like most of these at this point, though, up until top 10, I feel like all of these are relatively interchangeable for me.
Hmm.
So, and then Bill and Ted. 17, you
Yeah.
got Army of Darkness, which I expressed I just adore. And then Spaceballs. And I know you're not a big Mel Brooks guy, but I've loved Spaceballs for years, and that is one that does get funnier to me every time I watch it. And I'm a big John Candy fan. I love Rick Moranis, and those two really just do it for me in this movie. As does much of it. And like in Frankenstein, I feel like that's a love letter to old monster movies. This is a parody of Star Wars, but I also feel like it is a love letter to Star Wars. There is so much from it that just I don't know. I love it.
That's
Love it, love it,
fair.
love it.
That is 100% what one might say fair.
All right.
All right. Um, so for me, we have another one that's a repeater.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, I think like both of these two are repeaters. Is Emperor's New Groove,
Yeah.
which story time again about me. Was as a kid, like I was obsessed with Emperor's New Groove. Like there was a solid 2 or 3 months where it was basically my entire personality. Like I watched the movie all the time. I listened to the soundtrack all the time. I watched the entirety of Emperor's New School on Netflix because we had it for
Whoa.
like a month as a free trial. I made my mom make spinach puffs for me. Like
Whoa.
it was my entire personality. Obviously, that's not the case anymore, but it
I feel
remains one
like
of.
your personality has been permanently affected by it. And I say that for the
I
best.
was gonna say, I'm like, is that a good thing or a
It's a
bad
great
thing?
thing.
Okay. I guess at the very least, it definitely shaped my sense of humor
Absolutely.
because I really like that kind of zany, surreal, fast-paced kind of humor kind of stuff. So,
Very witty humor.
yep, yeah. So it definitely did shape me in a sense. It's a great film. It's hilarious. It's another one I could probably just watch a bunch of times in one day and not get bored of it or whatever.
I
You
agree.
know, it's just um we got Back to the Future, which, while it's not my favorite movie from the 80s, I feel like it's my favorite 80s movie, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because it just, unlike Aliens, which we'll get to for both of us, um, which feels a lot more timeless, if still indulging in the over the top everything that both Aliens and Predator got to live with. Back to the Future just is an 80s film, and which is funny because it takes place mostly in the 50s. But I just, oh, I love Back to the Future. Back to the Future is so stinking good. It's just so impeccably made, you know? Like,
Yeah.
the script is just off the charts. It's so good. We got Truman Show, which was one of my first movies to ever just like it was one of my first kind of like deeper thought movies that I watched, you know? And I've just
Yeah.
loved it ever since. It is It's just so good and funny, and Jim Carrey has a great performance in it. It's well written. It just rocks. I love Truman Show.
I first watched that movie because I think I was scrolling through Netflix or something, and I was just in the mood for just a Jim Carrey like goofy comedy.
Hmm.
And scrolling through, and I found Truman Show, and I'm like, oh yeah, Jim Carrey, this would be a great comedy. And I will say, it is a good comedy.
It
It's a
is a good
funny
comedy.
movie.
Hmm.
But holy cow, I was
Yep.
not expecting. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and it
Uh-huh.
blew my mind.
No, 100% freaking same. I remember being like, whoa, what was like, because it was kind of the same thing for
Ah,
me. I was in like middle school or high school or something. And I was just looking because I'm like, I'm a teenager. I can watch the adult real people films if I want to. And so I watched like, oh man, what was I watch? I remember watching Mr. Holland's Opus, which I think I liked. I watched Maverick, not Top Gun Maverick. I watched Maverick and I did really like that one. That's one I fully enjoy. But Truman Show is the one that 100% just stuck with me. I'm like, holy
yeah.
cow, that was awesome. Great film. Great film. Imagine if you had stumbled across Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind
Ooh,
instead.
that would have. I probably never would have watched a Jim Carrey film again after that one. For being completely honest, holy cow!
That would have been wild. Oh man. And then my next two are ones that are pretty well documented. I have Batman 89 at 17. I just gushed about Batman 89, but it's
It is
so
just that good.
it's just so comic booky and goofy, but it's trying to be serious because they're like, oh, we're not Adam West's Batman anymore, which there's nothing wrong with Adam West's Batman. He's perfect. But like, so like, oh, we're Tim Burton dark and gritty now, and it's not. It's just it's just not. But I kind of adore that about the film. It just loves being itself, and that's good.
And I will say this is my favorite version of Gotham.
Yes. Oh,
Tim Burton's
easily.
is my favorite version of Gotham that we've
Easily.
gotten.
I love Pattinson's Gotham quite a
Me
bit.
too.
But yeah, no, easily. Burns Gotham is the best Gotham. It is so, so cool. And then another well documented one is Jaws. What more can I say about Jaws? Oh man, I love Jaws so freaking much. Jaws is such a great film. Oh man, it's so good. It's so good. Anyways,
Absolutely. No, I love Jaws. I I don't know what else to say about that because there's nothing that we can't say that we haven't already stated before on this podcast about Jaws.
legitimately, legitimately.
So for me at 15, I've got Hot Fuzz,
A
which
very good one.
getting into the because Edgar Wright is my favorite director of all time. Uh, John Carpenter's up there now. I'd say he's in my top three, but still, Edgar Wright has not missed with me.
Who
And
has two films in your top 15? You know what I'm saying?
no, exactly. I don't think there's any others that's to the same director. But yeah, I love or Hot Fuzz. Top Fuzz.
Top
Awesome.
Buzz.
Um, Great movie. Big Trouble in Little China is definitely up there. Definitely one of my favorite 80s films. That's one, and this is one that used to scare me a lot as a kid. You were talking about exercising your childhood demons. Big Trouble in Little China, I really didn't like it as a kid, and my dad loved it. And
Really?
I could never understand why. And I remember it scared me for a long time. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I decided to just rewatch it. And it was a completely different movie than I remembered. And so that's a great one. Like I said, it was the inspiration for my Halloween costume, and it's just good all around. Great action, great comedy, and really, really neat aesthetic to it that I adore. And then Scott Pilgrim versus the World,
Yeah, let's
which
go.
is also, and which you'll talk about soon. And you only put it a few ahead of me.
Mm.
And wow, and when we're talking about Into the Spider-Verse and best comic book movies, I'd put this only a step or two behind it in
Oh
best
yeah.
comic book movies.
Oh yeah.
It is awesome. It- I had a really good friend show it to me. You know, I just graduated, I think, from high school, and a really good friend had shown it to me because he couldn't believe that I hadn't seen it before. And so I went in like, oh, whatever, I'll watch it with him. I've never been the same again. Awesome movie. At 12, we have Dune, which the only reason it's probably not higher is because it is just an incomplete film. When I
Right.
first saw it, I gave it 5 stars. Upon rewatching it several times, brought it down to 4.5 just because it's not complete. And really, that ending just leaves you wanting so much more. And Dune Part 2 is my most anticipated film,
Oh yeah.
and I am dying to see it. Um,
Oh yeah.
I'm so pumped. I love Dune. I think everything about that movie turned out better than I expected. Then at 11, this one's tough because this one and 10 could probably change around depending on how I'm feeling. It's Blade Runner. And Blade Runner is just great.
Blade
It
Runner,
is
man.
it's Blade Runner. And that one I watched 2020 for the first time. And I'd give it one of the most influential movies in the recent years for me. There hasn't been another movie that has quite stuck with me like Blade Runner in recent years.
That's fair.
Um, and it encouraged me to read the book.
Did you?
And yeah,
Oh hey.
Android's Dream of Electric Sheep.
What'd you think?
I loved it. I
Very
thought it
good.
was really freaking good. Um, it's definitely it's a lot more depressing, man.
Oh,
It's
it's
heavy.
more depressing.
Oh, dude, it's brutal.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
it is heavy, but something else that I really appreciated about the book is that it got into the religion of this world,
Hmm.
and something that I wish they touched on a little bit in the movie because I thought the religion aspect was super fascinating, and the book is just really cool. It's like I said though, it's really depressing. Um, Rachel is right. That's her name, right? Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is not the same character.
Hmm.
She is towards the beginning, but towards the end, she kind of becomes an antagonist of the film and is really, really, it's pretty heartbreaking.
Dang.
So I'd highly recommend the book. In all honesty, though, I do prefer the movie.
Mm.
If we're going to be honest, I think the movie's better, and partially because of the Vangelis soundtrack.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm a sucker for it. So, anyway, it's
Very
Blade
good.
Runner.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, books are boring. Movies are cool. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Books are so boring.
Imagine having to like put in a lot more effort into like reading something than just sitting there and watching something, you know? Gross. Ew, no. Jeez. That's why people make books into movies, so we can watch the movie instead,
Exactly.
obviously.
The superior version, truly.
uh, absolutely.
Electric
Question.
Oofaloos, canceled.
Do you like, and I mean, I guess this is a hard question to ask because it's not complete yet, but do you like Dune the book or Dune the movie more?
The book.
Okay,
The book
fair.
is it's genuinely just it just adds a lot more detail. There's just a lot more to it. And um really tells an interesting story, and I really
I would
appreciate
agree.
all the characters individually. And then that is one of the problems. In the movie, you don't get a lot of time with all the
No,
characters.
yeah.
Duke Leto Atreides is fascinating in the book to me.
Hmm.
And he's really, really good. Oscar Isaac delivers every bit of the gravitas that he has and pulls off a phenomenal performance. But you don't get as much time with him as you do in the book. You don't really get to know him and really how much of Paul's journey and his little crusade uh, all came from Duke Leto's ideas.
Mm.
That these aren't. It's not just Paul kind of coming up with how to run things or how to act and perform. And his whole plan is Duke Leto's plan. He thought of it first, and his downfall isn't because he was a bad leader at all. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But Duke Leto was fascinating, and same with Baron Harkonnen. Um,
Yes.
I One of my big problems with the '89 version of Dune, or '84 rather, it's not '89, is that the Baron is portrayed as super over the top grotesque. Not as
Mm.
he's not just obese, but he is disgusting. And that's not the case. Baron Harkonnen in the book and in the new movie is very sophisticated and intelligent, conniving. He's evil, and yes, he's huge and obese, but he's not gross. He is just very conniving, and you get a lot of that. But oh, and Pieter, who is played by David, can't pronounce his last name, Polka Dot Man, who
Oh
is
yeah.
another extremely interesting character in the book and arguably one of the most evil characters in Dune.
Yeah.
Just flat out, and you did not get any of
Nope.
that because holy
Nope.
cow. Anyway, so I do prefer the book, but that is just because like you do get more individual time with all of these characters with this world. And with the movie, despite its like 3 hour runtime, you can't fit all of that in. But I think this is the definitive film adaptation of the book, and I'm so excited for part two.
Oh, me too, man. Me too. Me
And that was kind of a
too.
long rant, but I love Dune. It's one of my favorite books of all time, and I could go on forever about it.
Very good. Very good.
All right, here we go, man. Top
Once
10.
more, unto the breach. Into the breach? Unto the breach? Which is it?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Listeners at home, please let us know um which it is because I can't
We don't.
remember. We sure don't. And if you want us to know, then tell us and then we'll know. So there you go. All right.
Top 10.
Well, I'm still a bit behind you at 15.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, you're right. Sorry, my bad.
Now you're good, you're good, you're good. All right. So 15, we got Aliens, which as we've discussed, rocks. I like the first Alien, but not nearly to the degree that I like Aliens, clearly.
That's fair.
But I freaking adore Aliens. Aliens is so freaking hype. It's so fire. Oh my gosh. Great movie. And then we got Monsters Inc. at 14, which is my favorite Pixar movie. I adore Monsters Inc. It is so sweet and fun, and it makes me cry at the end. And fun fact about me again, when we first watched this, I hid under my blanket because I was scared. Like I said, I used to be really scared of monsters, man. So it is kind of funny now having both Monsters versus Aliens and Monsters Inc.
And
be in my
Monsters Inc.
top
Yeah.
25. Then we have Minority Report, which I think I alluded to last week that Top Gun Maverick is my favorite Tom Cruise movie. And I think as far as just enjoyment factor goes, that would be true. Top Gun Maverick is just so freaking enjoyable. It's got a very sincere, sweet, good story. But Minority Report is like
It's
the like
heavy.
exactly the fun action sequences of any Tom Cruise action scene or action movie, I mean, but plus like the deep sci-fi concept stuff. And it, oh my gosh, it is so good. It is such a good movie. I've loved Minority Report for a long time. So it's my favorite film starring Tom Cruise for sure. It's really good. Then at number 12 we have a Goofy movie because I freaking love a Goofy movie.
Just a simp for Powerline.
I am a simp for Powerline. That's 100% facts. Like no printer, just facts, man. I adore Powerline's music, and I adore that like fun sense of fun, I guess, in the film. Um, it's just it's such a good, sweet little film. Then at 11, we got Captain America: Winter Soldier, which is the highest MCU film. and it's a pretty big gap because my next closest is a 37, so it's
Yeah,
over
yeah,
like
yeah.
21 gap. I I love Winter Soldier. It's just such a great action film. It's just I don't know. It's just a ton of fun. I really
Yeah,
like it. I like the kind of political spy thriller undertones or overtones or whatever it has, and it's just got fantastic action sequences. So it's just a good time all around.
I agree. Awesome. All right, finally, we've made it to our top 10. And start things off, I've got Inception. Inception used to be a lot higher for me. It was the third favorite movie for a
Oh
long
wow.
time.
Yeah.
Um, but it's been bumped back, I think, realistically. Love Inception, love Nolan. And then we got Star Wars at 9, and then Empire Strikes Back at 8. Um, I couldn't not include these in my top 10. And I love them individually, but also on a personal level. Like many people, they were extremely influential all throughout my childhood. And then 7, that's where I've got Aliens.
Yeah.
I adore Aliens, much like you. I second everything you said about it. Loved the first movie, but Aliens blew my mind.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then we have UHF, which once again, not necessarily the best movie on this list, but that's another one. Just growing up, I loved it, and I still do. I rewatched it a couple weeks ago, and I just love it even more. And I'm really excited for the Weird Al movie.
I was just gonna say, I'm like, are you gonna watch that once it comes out?
Yeah, I totally am. So I'm really excited for that. But UHF, just classic.
Very good. I need to watch it
It,
again. It's been years since I watched
in
it.
in my opinions, it is genuinely one of the funniest movies I've ever seen in my life.
I remember being pretty funny. I'll need to watch it again, especially with with Weird coming out.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that soon. Maybe we'll do that this weekend. Who's
Highly
to
recommend
say?
it. Highly recommend it.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, on to my top 10. Here we have, or I have Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I think this one my aunt and uncle just showed. I can't remember if my aunt and uncle showed it to me first and then I was like, this movie rocks,
Uh-huh.
or if I just kind of discovered it on my own and I'm like, this movie rocks. And found out that my aunt and uncle were also big fans of it. As they should. This movie is freaking incredible. Like, bro,
It's
what
awesome.
what can I even say, man? It is so stinking good. Ugh. Yeah, no, I love Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. And then we have what used to be my number one favorite movie of all time, The Amazing Spider-Man, which has made the least amount of a jump down from where it's had the smallest fall from grace, one could say. um I don't this one is it's there I have a lot of opinions on this movie, all of them being positive, but like I don't know, it just kicked off my whole like the Amazing Spider-Man scene it opening day is the reason like I love superhero stuff so much now. I mean, granted, I probably wouldn't have stayed out of the MCU all this time later, but up to this
Sure.
point, I had never even like I hadn't seen Avengers, I hadn't seen any of the superhero movies. This is the first one, and I was like, dang, Emma Stone's pretty attractive. But also,
But also,
superhero movies are really freaking cool. Like young 14 year old me had a whole just avalanche of worlds brought upon him, which we'll get to this in a second, but you could put a whole bunch of dominoes up and say if I hadn't gone and seen the Amazing Spider-Man, I wouldn't have gone and seen La La Land. So,
ooh,
but we'll get to that story when we get there. And I mean Andrew Garfield is all like at the time, I'm just like, dang, superheroes are cool. But also, freaking now, have you seen Andrew Garfield? Oh
He's
man,
aged quite well.
oh my gosh. So, anyways, next up we have Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. Um, I don't think anyone I've shown this to has really liked it as much as I have.
I don't think so either.
Because I know you and David didn't enjoy it a ton.
I would have
I
enjoyed it more if both you and the movie hadn't been so misleading.
And Eileen didn't like it a ton either when we watched it, but I freaking adore this film. This film is one of the reasons why I have such an not such an eye for cinematography, but such an appreciation for cinematography, because it's got some fantastic shots and editing in it. It's really gorgeously made. But also I just really like the story. This is the only, kid befriends another kid dying from, an illness, and they change each other's lives movie that I like. Probably because the rest of them are all romances and really cheesy and meant for middle schoolers. While this one is the Chad version of that film. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, yeah.
I've adored it for years and years and years. Next up we have Unbreakable, which is just it's unbreakable, man. Like, I don't know. The story rocks, the performances rock. The film is just so brilliant and clever, and it's honestly like a pretty simple film at the end of the
Yeah.
day, but it is just so just
Executed to perfection.
exactly. Exactly. It's incredible. It's something else. I love it. I love it. I love it. And number six, we got Birdman, which, as mentioned last week, is my favorite Batman movie, because that's basically what it is in a sense. And it's great. Another great one with cinematography. Freaking, it's edited to be just one shot, the entire film, basically. And they pull it off so well. But also just the story and the performances and everything at its center are just fascinating to me. They're so invigorating. There's a reason why this movie won Best Picture of the Year that year. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
always a indicator of great quality. Green Book. But um it deserved it. It's really good. It's really stinking good. I love Birdman so much.
I did like Birdman. I really enjoyed watching that one with you. Yeah. I agree. It is a great Batman movie. All right, and now going into the top five, I've got Mad Max Fury Road, and there are a couple of on my top five. There's three of them that I'd argue are perfect movies.
Ooh.
Mad Max Fury Road is the quintessential action film.
Yeah, it really is.
It's I haven't I have yet to seen anything like Mad Max Fury Road. It's it's one of the prettiest movies that I've ever seen, while also having some of the best absolute over the top action sequences ever. And the sandstorm scene never ceases to give me goosebumps. I I can't get enough. Anyway, the Mad Max Fury Road, and then Clue. I'd also argue is a perfect movie. Clue is flawless. It is one of the best comedies ever made. All the performances are good. The script is tight. The comedy slaps. I love Clue. It is so freaking good, and it. I don't know. I can't. That's one that I could watch a lot. I do watch that one a fair amount. It is just genuinely one of my comfort movies and one of the movies that I could just rewatch ad nauseum. And I think it deserves more recognition. A lot of people have seen it, but I don't think a lot of people has appreciate it as much. But I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority there. I just think it's incredible. I genuinely and it's hard to. I don't know. I was about to say something along the lines. It's probably my favorite '80s movie, but I don't know. It's one of my favorite 80s movies.
I
It's
mean,
one of my
considering we
favorite.
have an 80s movie just down the line.
Yeah, I know. No, you're right. You're right. Then Return of the Jedi, also an 80s movie. Not the best Star Wars movie, but definitely my favorite. I I, I just think it's awesome. And then Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Which I feel like I'm always I feel like for these top five, every time I get to them, there's so much that I want to say about them. But as soon as
Uh-huh.
I bring it up, I'm like, I'm at loss for words. What more can I say about it? It's great. It is phenomenal. I I don't know what else to say about it. Uh, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou gets better every time I watch it as well. I get more out of it every time I watch it too, which is interesting. It is so detailed. The story is so great. I love the music in it. It's my favorite George Clooney performance. Sorry, Batman and Robin. Um, Everything about it is just amazing, and it is my favorite of the Coen Brothers films. I've liked a lot of the Coen Brothers films. A lot of them are too heavy. Like I really liked Fargo, but it weighs down on you,
That's
you know.
fair. I love Hail
But
Caesar.
yeah. So like I like a lot of the Coen Brothers a lot, but Oh Brother, Where Art Thou just blows me away. And I love and then for my number one, and if you listen to the podcast at all, you already know. And if you know me, you know, because this is half of my personality. Ghostbusters. I have a whole shrine to Ghostbusters.
It's
I
true.
have both Ghostbusters 1 and 2 on VHS, and I have their soundtracks on vinyl. I I probably have a few copies of Ghostbusters. I've bought it 3, 4 times probably, if you include my VHS and whatnot.
Hmm.
Like this movie is, you're right. This is my favorite 80s movie. You're right. You're right. Once again, you know, I don't think it's perfect, but I think it's really freaking close. And it's unfortunate that none of the movies have really recaptured it since, like I said, I think Ghostbusters 2 is a great successor to Ghostbusters 1. And if it weren't for the third act, I'd have Ghostbusters 2 a lot higher. And Ghostbusters Afterlife is a wonderful, and I said this several times in this episode, a love letter. It's not great. Ghostbusters Afterlife isn't great necessarily, but I appreciate the respect and continuation that it shows for a lot of the characters of the original Ghostbusters. And like I said, Ghostbusters is probably half of my personality. I quote this movie a lot. I think about this movie a lot. And if I had any fictional dream job, it would be a Ghostbuster.
That would be pretty rad.
Easily. I love this movie. And I love all five of them. They're all great, but Ghostbusters is my favorite movie of all time, hands down.
Very good, very good, very good. It is really stinking good. Like real stinking good.
Yeah.
So is Mad Max. I'm actually kind of surprised. I think Mad Max was another one I used to have on here, but I took it off. There's a couple of them I used to have on here, but then took off. Maybe I'll put them back on. I don't know. Maybe I'll ruminate over that over the next
Yeah, no,
weekend.
no, no.
Who's to say? Who's to say? Anyways, all right. So number five for me, I got Nightmare Before Christmas. If you know me, you probably already know at least four of the five films on here because I talk about most of them all the time.
A ton.
But specifically, this bottom one, the bottom five, and the top number one are just an intricate part of me to the, there's,
Yeah.
if you spend more than like a month hanging out with me, you'll probably figure out that I love at least one of these films. So yeah, number five is Nightmare Before Christmas. I actually only watched it twice last month instead of my usual three times. But I might rectify that myself this weekend just because I want to. And I really like Nightmare Before Christmas because it's really stinking good. And I love all the characters a lot. And the music's really good and the animation's really pretty. It's just such a good film.
It's incredible.
Before Christmas. Anyways, At 4, we got Spider-Man to the Spider-Verse. Is this movie highly helped in its ranking because it has Spider-Gwen, my favorite superhero character of all time in it? Yes. Yes, it is. But also, it's just in like I watched it a couple months ago and it just blows me away that this movie even exists. Like this
Yeah.
movie actually was made in the like the landscape we have right now. We got Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. Like that just blows my mind.
And then the more you learn about the actual production, how they
Uh
made the
huh.
animation, it's you're right. It's incredible that it was ever made.
It's nuts. It is absolutely nuts. But I'm so glad that it was made. It's so warm and heartfelt and funny and beautifully animated. Great performances, great story. It's incredible. If you haven't seen it yet, go freaking watch it already. Like, come
So,
on, go see it. Like, it is of all the films, maybe not of my entire list, but of my top 5, it is the easiest one for me to just recommend. Like, go watch it. I would be incredibly surprised if you didn't enjoy it. It's
I
just so
agree.
likable. A great film. Anyways, 3 is Silence of the Lambs, which is the most recent entry into my, not as far as like time wise goes, but as far as I've seen it goes, because if I'm not mistaken, outside of like Top Gun Maverick and I think Aliens as well.
Hmm.
So Top Gun Maverick, Aliens, Casablanca, and then Pig and Shang-Chi because they just came out, and Dune. So, but by far the biggest jump is the most recent film that I've seen and have on this list because I literally watched it for the first time like a year and a half ago, and it became my third favorite movie of all time. Is It's a masterpiece. Like I don't like tossing around that word too much because it's objective and stuff, but like legitimately, Silence of the Lambs is a perfect movie. Just
Yeah,
straight up. There's a reason why it won Best Director, Picture, Actor, Actress, and Adapted Screenplay at the whole year and a month after it was released. It's just that good. It's just seriously, legitimately that good. It's an incredible film. And then at number 2 we have Edward Scissorhands, and I've just always had a really, a really soft spot for Edward Scissorhands.
yeah.
Um, as I put in my review a month ago, when I watched it this year, a lot of it legitimately is just kind of like anecdotal. Just Edward kind of like trying to fit in with the suburbia, and it's cute, it's fun, it's sweet. Edward is a great character. He's a very easy character to root for.
Very
Um,
likable.
Very likable, exactly. But that last half hour is just so like emotional and gut wrenching, and oh my gosh, it makes me just bawl every time I watch it. The last like 2 scenes are so perfect. They're perfect scenes. It's such a good movie. I freaking love Edward Scissorhands so much. Uh,
Absolutely.
it's great. And then number 1, everyone I've ever talked to like knows this. Everyone knows my favorite movie is La La Land. Like everyone does. My roommates do, my friends all do. It's because I won't shut up about it because I love this movie so stinking much. It is absolutely beautiful. It's, like just on a movie making sense, it's got great cinematography, great colors and shots, and it's written very well. It's got great performances. It's a great movie. But oh my gosh, I don't know quite what it is. I think part of it is the whole like battle between, doing what you want to do and like doing what you feel like you should do, and like responsibility and art and love and all that kind of stuff, just all into one movie. It hits so hard for me. And that's why it's my number 1 favorite movie. It just speaks to
It
me
does
on a
it for you.
level.
It does it for you.
Exactly. It speaks to me on a level that like literally maybe only Edward Scissorhands does on like in any movie I've ever seen, which is why they're my top 2.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I really love La La Land. And I loved getting to see it in theaters when it came out. I think it was, no, it wasn't. It was close. But no, I love La La Land. I loved seeing it in theaters.
Mm. I saw it just before I left them. In fact, I got my mission call the same day I went and saw it.
Yeah, I was about to say it was the last movie. It wasn't. Lego Batman was the
Yo,
last
Lego
movie I saw in
Batman was
theater
the
before I
movie.
left.
That was the last movie I saw in theaters too.
Awesome.
Like I watched it the morning I got set apart.
So cool. So
Incredible.
yeah, there you have it, folks. You have our top favorite movies of all time right there. And I'm sure there will be tweaks and stuff. You brought up Batman 66, and I realized Batman 66 isn't on my top 50. And I'm
That did
wondering if it should
surprise
be.
me. That
And I'm
did
wondering if it
surprise
should be.
me.
If I think of one other that needs to be up there, then I'm going to do the thing where I cut out two of the Lord of the Rings movie and just use one as
Ooh.
a placeholder.
Yeah,
But I need to think of one more. So, but there you have it.
there we
Go
go.
follow us on Letterboxd. Go look
Yeah,
at these movies. Go read our
go
reviews
watch
for
them.
them. Go watch them. Even better. Yeah. Absolutely. Review them for yourself. See what you think. Let us know what you think
Watch every single movie we've ever recommended because that's the only way to prove that you're a true fan of the podcast.
of the podcast. Absolutely.
Because we just look okay. We just need that um that satisfaction, that justification.
Yeah,
We need that validation.
we do. And if you watch a movie that we recommend that was on one of our lists and you watch it and you like it, let us know because that validation that we crave.
For real. I love it when I show people things and they're like, that was really
And they're like,
good.
that was
I'm like,
awesome.
I know. That's why I wanted you to watch it.
Exactly.
That was the entire idea. Ooh, you can sort these
And
by decades. That's cool. Sorry.
oh yeah. And so if you've made it through this whole episode, and if you made like congratulations, this has been a long one. If you made it through last episode and this episode, a double congratulations because they're both long episodes. And we appreciate you for listening.
We do. We appreciate you guys for listening just more than we can fully like express,
Comprehend. Yeah. Yeah.
That too. More than we can fully comprehend.
Works.
There's just a lot of love on this podcast because we have a lot of love in our hearts,
We do.
and there's only just so many places we can put it towards. And so we need we need this, so we have an
Totally.
outlet.
For our love.
Hmm.
Mhm. Well, thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Electric Oofaloos podcast. As always, I'm Darren Barron or Jetpack Cat Zero on Letterboxd, and I was joined, as always, by my love, Dominique.
It is me, and I was so glad to be joined by my love, Durin.
Wow.
I'm Jet or that you're Jetpack Cat.
I'm
I'm
Jetpack Cat
Shadow Spider 004 on Letterboxd. Follow us on Letterboxd. It's a party all the time.
all the
You
time.
can know exactly what movies I'm watching right now because, and maybe you already do. Maybe you're outside my window watching me record this.
Oh, I wish I was.
Well, if it was you, you'd be inside
Oh, that's
the
true.
room watching me record this.
It's true.
Yeah. But anyways, we hope you guys have a great week. Maybe this episode hasn't been the worst of times for you. I don't know.
I don't
It's
know.
been a
Maybe
good
that's
time for us.
mhm.
So I guess it depends on what your thoughts are on listening to two dudes ramble about movies for
Yeah,
like an hour and a half. If you like that, then it's probably the best of times. You don't like that, it's probably the worst of times.
there you go.
It's really all subjective. Except
There you
for
go.
Howard the Duck, that movie is the worst.
It is the worst of
Objectively.
times. Objectively.
That is objectively the worst of times.
Dang, I might do that next. I might try putting together a list of my least favorite movies of all time.
I have that in my head,
Damn, I'll have
which,
to think about that.
spoiler alert for anyone who wants to know, Tall Girl is the worst movie
Tall
ever
girl.
made. Tall Girl. And then um what's it called? Middle School, The Worst Years of My Life.
Nice.
Then Howard the Duck. And then Tall Girl 2. And then probably Sierra Burgess is the loser. Fun fact, both Tall Girl and Tall Girl 2 and Middle School, The Worst Years of My Life star the same kid. He's
And they're a
in.
curse, they're a plague.
He is. He needs to be stopped. I don't even know if he's been in any other movies, but he's in my two least favorite films I've ever seen. So
Incredible.
that's pretty wild. Anyways,
Well, join us next time, friends.
for whatever we decide to talk about,
Whatever it is that we talk.
whatever
And,
crosses our mind.
and watch the movies.
Watch some movies. Movies are cool, unlike books. Books are lame.
Yeah.
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 Fahrenheit 451 IRL.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
only
Oh,
the movie.
only the movie.
We'll watch the movie version of Fahrenheit 451.
Ah,
Don't support the book version. Jeez.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Until next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.